Have you ever wondered why the rich seem to keep getting richer while so many others struggle just to get by? At first glance, it looks like luck, inheritance, or privilege. Maybe they were born into money. Maybe they just got lucky in business. But when you start studying wealthy people closely, patterns begin to emerge. They don't just rely on luck. They live by a different set of rules. Rules about money, time, mindset, and habits that quietly separate them from the majority. These rules aren't secret. Let's start with the very first difference: mindset. Rich people simply think differently about money. Most of us are raised to see money as something we earn and then spend. Work hard, get a paycheck, cover the bills, maybe save a little, and repeat. It's a cycle, and for most people, it's never ending. But the wealthy view money not just as something to spend, but as a tool. They see every dollar as a seed, something that can be planted, nurtured, and multiplied. They don't ask, "How can I spend this?" For example, imagine someone who gets a $5,000 bonus from work. An average person might see that as an opportunity to upgrade their phone, buy a new TV, or go on a vacation. A wealthy person sees it differently. They might put that $5,000 into a stock portfolio, a rental property, or even use it to start a side business. One person has short-term pleasure, the other has long-term growth. Multiply that mindset over decades, and the difference becomes massive. That's the first rule. Money is a tool, not. This brings us to one of the most famous principles the wealthy live by: understanding assets and liabilities. It sounds simple, but most people get it wrong. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. A liability is anything that takes money out. It's really that straightforward. But here's the problem. Many people mistake liabilities for assets. Take your personal home, for example. It feels like an asset, but if it's not generating cash flow, it's technically a liability. It costs you mortgage. Wealthy people build their lives around acquiring assets and minimizing liabilities. They ask themselves with every purchase, will this make me richer, or will it drain my resources? That's why you'll often see them invest in things that generate cash flow: businesses, rental properties, dividend stocks, royalties. They know that the game of wealth isn't about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and how much continues to flow in without your direct effort. Which leads us to another crucial rule. Cash flow is king. Net worth on paper is one thing, but if you are asset rich and cash poor, you can still struggle to pay the bills. Wealthy people don't just want their name attached to big properties or impressive portfolios. They want steady streams of income that flow whether they're working or not. That's why you'll often hear about millionaires who still live frugally but have multiple streams of income quietly working for them behind the scenes. When you have cash flow, you have freedom. You have phrases. But how do wealthy people acquire these assets and cash flows so much faster than others? One word: leverage. Now, debt has a bad reputation because most people only experience bad debt. Credit cards, personal loans, payday advances. That kind of debt drains you. But the wealthy use good debt strategically. Good debt is borrowing to acquire income-generating assets. For instance, taking out a mortgage to buy a rental property that pays for itself and produces extra income every month. That's leverage. Beyond money, wealthy people live by another essential rule: never depend on a single source of income. The average person depends almost entirely on their paycheck. Lose the job, and the income disappears. The rich intentionally build multiple streams of income. It could be a combination of dividends, business profits, royalties, rental income, or partnerships. Each stream adds stability. Even if one dries up, they're still financially secure. This principle doesn't just make them rich, it makes them resilient. But here's something equally important. Rich people don't just focus on making money, they focus on keeping it. Wealth isn't just built by earning, it's preserved through strategy. Taxes, for example, are often the single biggest expense in a person's life, and the wealthy treat tax planning as a serious discipline. They don't evade taxes, they plan for them. They use legal structures like trusts, corporations, and smart investments to reduce their liabilities. They diversify their wealth so that no single investment is a direct loss. And yet, perhaps the most valuable rule they live by has nothing to do with spreadsheets or investments. It has to do with time. Rich people value time over money. Most of the world is stuck trading hours for dollars. The rich find ways to escape that trap. They hire help, delegate tasks, automate businesses, and invest in systems that generate money without demanding constant time. Because here's the truth: time is the one resource you can never get back. A millionaire who works 100 hours a week, think of Warren Buffett. He often talks about how he spends most of his day reading and thinking, not working long shifts. Why? Because his money works for him. He's structured his wealth so that his time is his own. That's what true wealth really is: control over your time. And it starts with recognizing that buying back your time is often more valuable than buying the next luxury car or vacation package. Another critical rule of the wealthy is patience. In a society addicted to instant gratification, rich people are willing to play the long game. They don't expect to double their money overnight. They don't panic when the market dips. They trust in compounding, discipline, and time. Compounding is called the eighth wonder of the world for a reason. If you invest a small amount consistently over years, the snowball effect becomes unstoppable. But most people quit too early. The rich don't. They let time work. And while patience is vital, it pairs with another powerful rule: emotional discipline. Money is emotional. Fear and greed are constant forces in the financial world. Fear keeps people from investing at all. Greed drives them to chase risky fads. Both destroy wealth. The rich learn to master their emotions. They don't panic sell when markets fall. They don't get seduced by hype when prices soar. They stay calm, rational, and disciplined. And that discipline, more than any secret strategy, is what protects wealth. Of course, none of this would matter if the rich didn't keep learning. Another universal rule among wealthy people is that they are constant learners. They read books, they study markets, they hire mentors, they join mastermind groups, they attend conferences. They never assume they know it all. Instead, they assume there's always something new to learn. This hunger for knowledge keeps them ahead of the curve, always adapting, always growing. Think about it. How many people stop learning after they finish college? Another often overlooked rule: surround yourself with the right people. Wealthy people are intentional about their networks. They understand that your environment shapes your mindset, your opportunities, and your growth. They spend time with other ambitious, strategic thinkers. They seek out mentors who've already walked the path. They know that one conversation can change everything: a new idea, a new partnership, a new perspective. They don't leave their circle of influence to chance. They build it. There's also a lifestyle rule. The wealthy often live below their means even when they don't have to. It sounds counterintuitive, but many millionaires live in modest homes, drive ordinary cars, and keep expenses reasonable. Why? Because they understand that status symbols don't build wealth. Assets do. Sure, some indulge in luxuries, but often only once their assets can easily pay for them. This discipline allows them to keep reinvesting and compounding instead of constantly upgrading their lifestyle. But here's another rule that surprises many people: giving back. Generosity is a common trait among the wealthy. Whether it's philanthropy, supporting communities, or donating to causes they care about, giving is often part of their financial philosophy. Why? Because wealth isn't just about accumulation, it's about impact. And on a practical level, giving creates perspective, keeps greed in check, and can even create new opportunities. Many wealthy people see giving not as losing money, but as multiplying. Finally, there's the generational rule. The wealthy don't just think about today, they think about tomorrow and the generations after them. They plan estates, they set up trusts, they teach their children about money early. They know that if money isn't managed properly, it disappears within a generation. So they treat wealth not just as a personal tool, but as a legacy. This mindset creates continuity and stability that keeps families wealthy across decades, even centuries. When you add all of this together, you start to see why the rich keep getting richer. It's not just about making more money. It's about thinking differently, acting strategically, and living by rules that most people ignore. Rules about mindset, assets, cash flow, leverage, diversification, taxes, time,
patience, learning, networks, lifestyle, giving, and legacy. These are the principles that quietly shape their lives and their fortunes. So the real question is this: will you adopt these rules? Will you keep following the cycle of working, spending, and struggling? Or will you start shifting your mindset, building assets, creating cash flow, valuing your time, learning constantly, and building not just income, but freedom? The choice is yours. And remember, wealth isn't built overnight. But every decision you make today, every dollar you invest, every expense you cut, every book you read, every connection you build, moves you one step closer.